Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of the Baddie Besties podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa.
And I'm your co-host, Samira, aka Samski.
And today we have another special episode for you for World Health Day. This is the healthcare gap no one talks about and what every woman needs to know.
And this episode is coming live to you, I think right before World Health Day, And so in this Baddie Besties special, because we're talking about women's bodies, and we're getting real about the gaps in women healthcare from racial disparities in mammogram follow-ups. There was a really alarming stat that said Black, Hispanic, and Asian women are all less likely than white women to receive same-day follow-up after an abnormal mammogram. So this is really an important topic. We're going to get into the silent struggles of PCOS. We're driving in the stats that are really going to shock you. Why is PCOS still really underdiagnosed, and what resources are available to actually help? Because here at Baddie Besties, I could feed y'all all information all you want, but we want to make sure you're getting the change and the help that you need so we can make that impact. So with that being said, let's get into World Health Day and why it matters.
So why April 7th, right? World Health Day, April 7th. World Health Day was established by the World Health Organization, who in 1948 was
raising awareness
about global health issues. Yeah,
exactly. And each year has a theme. And this year, we're really going to focus on health equity for women. So what's really impactful here, and just a lot of people don't know, is women health is severely underfunded, right? So the FDA only mandated the inclusion of women in clinical trials starting in 1993. Which is really crazy seeing the history of time.
Right.
1993, like, damn, baby, that was yesterday.
Right. It was not that long ago.
So it's really, really important to see that, as we can see even today's world, that women's health is not prioritized and men are making decisions about women's bodies. Mm-hmm. And also looking at the gender health gap, right? Women are more likely to be misdiagnosed. We could talk about our experiences, just the little that we have experienced, especially with heart disease, autoimmune diseases, conditions, according to the Journal of Women's Health dating back of 2021. So really wanted to really get into this list and ask you, have you ever been misdiagnosed by a doctor, and kind of what were the repercussions of that? What was the turmoil that it made you go through? Wanted to really see how you handled it.
Yeah, I've actually been misdiagnosed multiple times. I don't know what is going on with these doctors nowadays, because they have been, telling me the wrong information. Okay,
baby.
Example, I remember I had some issues with my skin. I had dots like all over my skin and they wasn't going away. And I didn't know what to do. And I was seeing different doctors and they were trying to figure out what was going on. I had just came back from Asia. So they were trying to blame it on something from Asia, and everything that they said and all the tests they were running negative. And eventually one of the doctors just said it was eczema. And I was just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is not eczema. And anything that they gave me just didn't help. And I literally had to go do my own research for like holistic things and oils and pills to take and stuff to try to like figure it out on my own. And luckily I was able to handle it. Yeah. But you think you'll go to a doctor and they're going to tell you exactly what the solution is and they should know what's going on. And it doesn't always happen that way, especially for women.
Yeah, I can 100%. I feel that I have experienced it. It's not as severe as like a heart disease or anything, but I would get constant in my head ear infections. And I went to, I think maybe 3 or 4 different doctors. I went to specialists and I went to different doctors. And believe it or not, just to cut the story short, I have psoriasis and I get it on my scalp. And they would give me different drops. They thought I was getting ear infections. I'm like, I don't understand. I keep getting ear infections. And believe it or not, I self-diagnosed myself and said I had psoriasis because they said I had something else. I don't even remember the name. And I was like, nah. I did the research. I looked at the pictures. I had all of everything saying I had psoriasis. Okay, all bad bitches have psoriasis. Shout out Kim K. But for real, I was like, no, this is what I have because I had all the symptoms. And believe it or not, I think this is really important, why representation matters. I specifically asked for a Black primary doctor and a Black woman. And it was so hard for me to find. She was completely booked. And I recently went in, I think I would say 2 weeks ago. And for the first time, mind you, I went to all different like ear specialists. I got them go all up in my ear, a microscope. They were doing the most. And for the first time, I had somebody that looks like me, somebody that understood what it was to be a Black woman, finally give me the right diagnosis. And I just figured, she literally told me not only do I have psoriasis, which the dermatologist did not tell me that, I was getting psoriasis in my ear and there was no ear infection at all. So I think this all goes to, I don't know the number at the top of my head, but there's a severely low number of Black doctors and lawyers. But when you do get a hold of people that look like you and just having that representation, for somebody that are in your shoes, if that makes sense, right? That understand you. She was able to give me the correct diagnosis, and it really changed everything for me. No ear infection and no more drops.
Thank goodness.
But it was something you remember,
it was a while.
A year or 1 or 2 years, like going to different doctors. They taking my co-pays, taking my money.
Every time, taking her coins.
They always taking my coins.
No solution. No solution.
And it was really, really frustrated. I remember like recently I had like a flare up and I was asking the dermatologist, I was like, yeah, like the medication you're giving me is not working. Why she wanted to do another telehealth, and she's like, yeah, $30. I said, girl, you gave me the wrong diagnosis. It wasn't even working. And then you asking me for more money? No. And I hung up in her face. I'm not giving y'all no more money. It's the principle. It's not the $30. It's the principle.
It is. It is, because a lot of these doctors do, I'll be honest, a lot of these doctors, they're making coins from this. Like, they're making coins every time they write you a prescription.
Profits over people.
Yeah. Yep. So... not with me, baby. Not with me.
Yeah, but to be honest, like the doctor, when I went to her, she took the time. It was the first time she wasn't rushing. She wasn't trying to get me in and out. She probably stayed there for 1 hour with me, going through each and every one of my symptoms. And from there, she gave me a diagnosis and prescribed me medication. And for the first time, I'm like, wow, I do not have any ear pain. Yeah. And I'm like, for 1 or 2 years, like I was really suffering from it. So shout out to her, and shout out to the Black doctors. Shout out to y'all.
No, okay, representation matters, though.
It does.
I've had lots of different misdiagnoses. Even this doctor told me I had tendonitis and I could never walk in heels again. I said, what? Besties,
crazy.
That's gonna break my heart. So, I finally also have a doctor. She's Spanish. I love her. Her name is Lena. Shout out Lena. And she looks out. But the other ones before that, I have so many stories. But Samira's is a real one where she had a lot of pain for a really long time. And I'm, proud of you for sharing that also with the besties and shining light.
You gotta advocate for yourself, because I was like, no, y'all keep bouncing me around. Mm-hmm. I even one time went to the ER, so that's how bad it got. But baby, advocate for yourself, stick up for yourself.
Absolutely.
And they do misdiagnose more often than you may think. But with that being said, let's move on to segment 2, the mammogram disparity that no one talks about.
Here's a stat, besties. Did you know that...
Which we mentioned earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know that Black, Hispanic, and Asian women are less likely than white women to receive same-day follow-ups after an abnormal mammogram? Did you know that, sis?
Yeah. According to the American Cancer Society, dating back 2023. I guess I didn't necessarily know that because, again, this is not something people talk about, but I guess this kind of makes us wonder, do you feel like there's implicit bias and a lack of healthcare access for Black, brown, Asian people, and systematic issues and delays here? Because I don't see why. And they literally say that Black women or people of color, they're more susceptible to breast cancer than their white counterparts. So I'm really curious to, hear your thoughts and hearing late stage diagnosis for women of color. And mind you, when it's in a late stage, sometimes
it's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah, it's really serious. I definitely believe there is some systemic bias in there because, we all know the systemic racism just in healthcare, in the world, in all kinds of, systems that we have in our society, mm-hmm. right? So it does make sense, right? This is Black, Hispanic, and Asian women in comparison to white women. It would make sense that a white woman, maybe there's something that comes up in her mammogram and she's like, she wants to come the next day or she wants to come a week later. And maybe there's, on the other side of the desk, there's another white woman who, feels bad for her and is like going to get her the next spot available, right? But there may also be a black woman who has the same exact issue, and it's going to take a month for her to see or 2 months, and no one is trying to find a gap in the schedule or anything, or telling her to call at 9 a.m. the next day because they have cancellations, and they're not telling her these things. So I definitely feel like there is a bias there, or else there wouldn't be a stat at all.
Yeah, 100%. You hit it on the nose here. Systemic racism in healthcare is a huge issue that it's really unfortunate. A lot of times, too, it plays into insurance, and it plays into how are they going to make profits and revenue. And a lot of times, women of color, they are not getting the treatment that they need because of that. And it's really sad that healthcare, especially in the United States, I cannot speak for everywhere in the world. In the United States, they look past that, and to put it in better terms, I feel like they would let you die if you didn't have health insurance.
Yeah.
And it's a place now that I don't feel protected by my own health insurance. And I have a great example, and this is not for a woman, but this is my man, Terrell. He's a big black guy. I would just give you his stats: 6'3", 250 pounds, a lot of muscles. He was having an anaphylactic shock, and you could see it readily on his face. Like his, the movie Hitch, and like the Will Smith, and we're gonna have to put it for them to see. But his face was essentially drooping, and I told him, I was like, hey, like we were on FaceTime. I was in Florida. He was in Florida. I was in Boston at the time. I was in college, and I was like, hey, you need to go to the hospital. Like, this is a dire situation. He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, dude, look at your face. Like, you need to go. So his throat was starting to close up. So he runs to urgent care. Mind you, I guess since he was rushing, he didn't take his wallet. So he runs, he's like, excuse me, I need help. They were like, oh, like, you need your health insurance. He's like, I promise I have health insurance. Like, please, I need help right now. Like, at this point, he's literally having anaphylactic shock. His throat is closing up. He's not thinking about getting health insurance and getting his wallet out. They would not help him. and mind you, I was on FaceTime. I had to scream at the time. He was with the Dolphins, and I was like, Google him. His name is Terrell Hanks. I had to scream this. I will sue you guys if you let him die here today. Mind you, the doctor comes out, gives him his EpiPen out in the lobby, and apologizes, saying like he's so sorry. And the sad part about it is, if Terrell wasn't a Dolphins player, if Terrell wasn't, someone of stature, would they have let him die in the lobby?
They would have absolutely let him die.
And I feel like, imagine this is not just a Terrell. What about all the other black boys, the black girls, or people of color that are needing help, and the healthcare system is constantly failing them?
Yeah. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, as a doctor, right, you take an oath, right? You take an oath to serve, right? It's supposed to be, your oath that you take is supposed to be serving people, right? I don't know the exact oath, but you're serving people, you're putting, their lives at the top of your mind. You're doing everything you can to save them. So the fact that he's over here, he literally can't breathe, and the ask is, where's your health insurance? We can't do anything for you, is absolutely insane, when it's very physically apparent as well that he needs help.
It's just, healthcare in the United States today has become such a money-driven, I would say, it's a profit-driven business, right? Like, they do not necessarily care about the patients anymore. Like, even now with my experience and our experiences with the doctors, it's become a 10 to 15-minute visit, or how many patients can be sitting in the room so we can hit profits that day, so we can make shareholders, administration happy. So it's a humongous issue, and why World History Day matters, and why these topics and these conversations matter, because no one is talking about it. And we want to bring awareness about this, because you could save a life. Like, all it takes is, if I wasn't on the phone that day, and I always think about that, if I was on the phone, because Terrell's not about boosting, like, hey, I play for the Dolphins, he haven't even mentioned it. He would have gone in his car and left and went home. It's because I advocated for him, mind you, in a whole different state, screaming, threatening to sue this people, saying that he needed help. So one, you have to advocate for yourself, and two, understand what resources are available. So just kind of tying back into mammograms. I know it kind of flipped the script here, excuse me. Wanted to pretty much mention the free mammogram programs. Many states offer low cost free screening. So make sure you check out the CDC's National Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, which we'll make sure we add the link to this episode. But they are programs out there for you. And we just want to let you know, like, you need to advocate for yourself. Sometimes maybe the doctor, they aren't the biggest push and they're not going to tell you to get that second screening. But you can go ahead and advocate and put yourself in a position to get the correct diagnosis and get the answers that you need.
Absolutely. I think also be very trusting of yourself and trust your body and what it's trying to tell you, because our bodies are really smart. I can think of a friend literally right now that comes to mind who had so many issues with her health and went through so much pain, and she was chronically ill. And there were so many times she went to doctors and was trying to figure out what was going on, right? And they're giving her the wrong things. But eventually, she found her own solutions. And sometimes you do get misdiagnosed. Sometimes people don't want to help you. And I think you just really have to trust yourself. If you feel like something they're giving you, the medicine they're giving you is not right, or it's not helpful, or you feel like the diagnosis they gave you isn't quite to par, or you really need help and it's taking 3 months for you to get another screening, you need to find something else, right? Just don't give up on yourself and trust yourself and how you're feeling. And we'll continue to say, right, advocate for yourself in any way, shape, or form possible.
Yeah, 100%. Just piggybacking off of that, know your patient rights. It's a simple Google search while you're there. I'll always ask questions, or I'll be Googling really quick. I'm like, okay, like, is he allowed to say that or whatever? But know that a lot of states and a lot of local hospitals, they do allow same-day follow-ups, and you have to request it because, mind you, doctors aren't making money if you they keep showing up. They want to give you get a new person in. And this way you can advocate for yourself and say, hey, I need another follow-up. And so know your rights. I think that's the biggest thing, and the biggest power is knowing your rights.
Absolutely.
But I guess really quickly here, Liz, wanted to ask you, do you believe or do you think that there should be a law requiring same-day follow-up, especially if they see something abnormal?
Absolutely. Because in my head, I'm a really logical person. If you
not rocket science, babes.
Duh, right? There's a lot of things I could say duh for America that America doesn't do, right? But hey, we will save that for another day. But of course, if you are scanning somebody, regardless of who the person is, and something comes up that's a bit suspect, yeah, you should go figure out and check, because if there is something there, you need to see that there's something there so you can create a plan for them, because these are lives at stake, right?
Yeah.
Every single person's life matters. Every single person. Everyone has maybe family, maybe friends, right? Everybody has breath in their lungs and a beating heart, and they deserve the same amount of care as anyone else, right? There's no more this because you have more money or because your skin is different. Like, it shouldn't be that way. That's not what equality is. And right, we know that. Fortunately, that's not the case. But to answer your question, absolutely, I do think there should be a law. What do you think?
100%. I think lawmakers are especially men, they love to make decisions on women's body, right? And lawmakers are too busy trying to think about profits, or they're not even in the woman's shoes, but are making decisions, right? So I think there's a huge disparity just from that. But if they could even take themselves out of themselves, right? It could be their mother, their sister, their daughter, right? Like, it could be anyone that could relate to them, down to the family. If they thought about that and how much of an impact it could be just to see a doctor that same day, they could literally, it could be such a drastic difference in just diagnoses and just seeking care when is needed. But hey, they too busy trying to do abortion and just too busy trying to all kind of stuff that they are not even medically, professionally, educationally qualified for.
Yeah. I think, if you guys saw one of our 2 episodes ago, Samira and I had an episode with this amazing doula, and we did talk about...
Shout out Hee.
Shout out Hee. We talked about profits over people, and we talked about hospital systems, right? And this was in the context of giving birth and moms and families, right? But she did mention, and we all, chimed in, that, the people at the top making these decisions are not dealing with patients day in and day out. So it's like you have a very detached perspective. You're making laws. You're doing all this stuff from a detached perspective, but you're not in there when people are dying. You're not in there when moms are bleeding on the bed. You're not in there when, a mom comes home and has to tell her kids that they found something on her ultrasound, her mammogram. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too detached. It's too unemotional decisions for people's emotional lives.
But imagine, right? They're not even allowing doctors to make the decision. It's somebody that probably went to business school that don't even know anything about the human body anatomy, and they are making decisions on people's lives.
Make it make sense. Is the mathing?
I don't think anything about the United States is math. Look at the price of eggs, child.
Oh, it's Chile. Chile, no omelets, no scrambled eggs.
No, nothing. Nothing about the United States is making any sense. But with the healthcare system, it's completely in shambles. And it's time for us to call them out on it.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's move on to our next segment here, PCOS, because this is a huge topic among millions of women. It's the most underdiagnosed condition in women's health today. So wanted you to, dive in. Yeah. What is PCOS?
Yeah, of course. So PCOS, I'm sorry if I butcher it.
It's okay. We just go straight into it. So
I think I can say it. Polycystic ovary syndrome.
I think you got it too.
I think I got it, babes.
Yes.
PCOS is a hormonal condition that affects women of reproductive age. It's a chronic condition that can cause irregular periods, excessive body hair, acne, infertility, right? So some of the symptoms, irregular periods, the ones I just mentioned, ovarian cysts as well, and even an increased risk of diabetes. Also, PCOS is a leading cause of infertility. So research even shows PCOS may arise your risk for several other health conditions as well. This is super prevalent, right? This is one of the most underdiagnosed conditions in women's health.
And to give you the stat, 70% of women with PCOS go undiagnosed, according to the CDC. So it's a humongous issue. But why? Why is this happening?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like many doctors, they may attribute symptoms like weight gain is one of the symptoms, right? Or you have acne, or your period is irregular. So they may think it's something else. They may think it's
the way you eat,
right? Yeah. Or it's your hormones, it's your genetics, irregular periods or something. Like, there's so many ways, even your lifestyle choices. There are so many things that they can say, that they can point a finger at for why you're gaining weight, or why your face is breaking out uncontrollably, or why you're having really bad periods, like on the bed, can't go to work, really bad periods, right? It's honestly really sad, Samira. 70% is a huge number.
Yeah, I think, especially I have family members that have cysts and are currently dealing with this. It's a humongous issue, and to many doctors, it may not seem life-threatening, but the biggest thing is it's life-altering. Because if you can get a cyst on one of your ovaries, and potentially it being they may have to remove that ovary, right? So now it becomes, this person, they may not die, but they may not be able to carry children. Mm-hmm. And this is just something that is overlooked way too many times, and it's impacting women day in and day out. But social media has been a really great resource for this. Now, people that are dealing with PCOS, there's plenty of PCOS influencers, but outside of that, there's not a lot of resources, especially for young girls. When they're having these symptoms, a lot of doctors are brushing them off.
Yeah.
It's something it's really disheartening. And really the controversy about this is a lot of them don't recognize it, again, as a serious condition.
I think that's crazy, because even just with how much America pushes us to even have babies as women, right? And to build families, right? Again, go check out our doula episode. We talk a lot about this. there is this idea you should have these babies, reproduce, build America up, right? But then we have 70% of women with PCOS, and a big portion of those numbers undiagnosed, in pain, and may not even be able to have children. So it's like, do you even really care? You don't really care.
The crazy part, I've never seen a country that pushed so much for women to have babies, but really, and I don't like to use the word hate, or maybe really dislike women at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like simultaneously you want people to reproduce, but you do not give them the resources or care about their body or care about just their experience or them as an individual or like a human in themselves. They just disregard women, especially, I mean,
yeah, it's like have the babies, like make the population grow, but I don't really care what your experience is like. Just make it happen.
But here at Baddie Besties, we're not going to just talk about the situation. We're going to give you some solutions and some resources, because as much as we want to be a vessel to bring awareness, we want to make sure that besties, that you can get the help. You could also always DM us. We may not have all the answers, but we'll make sure we find the person to give you the answer, because it's a humongous issue that it's not fair to the girlies, and it can happen to really young girls that don't understand why their periods, like you said, is just like, it's like when you call up the job and you're like, dang, like I can't work today, and they're like, dang, this girl can't come in again. But yeah, you're seriously in that much pain, and it might be a PCOS diagnosis, and you just don't know you have it. So with that being said, just wanted to let you know, the first things first, make sure you always advocate for yourself. If you have to request additional blood tests, baby, one, these people like to make money, so I don't see why they wouldn't approve it. But you need to request the additional blood test to check your hormone levels so you can get the right answers that you need.
Yeah, this kind of ties into earlier when we were saying making sure you're asking the right questions. So if you feel like you're getting misdiagnosed, it doesn't seem right. What they're telling you is a solution. Maybe they're giving you medicine for the weight gain, or telling you, hey, try this diet, try that diet. You're like, it's not helping. Nothing's helping. You're gonna have to figure out. Maybe this is the episode you listen to, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I do have PCOS. I have all these symptoms. All this is happening to me. Let me go now and request some blood tests, check my hormone levels, and see. Unfortunately, sometimes we do got to do the detective work if someone else is not going to do it for us.
Yeah, and you just have to. The biggest thing is no one's going to care more about you than you going to care about you, right? At the end of the day, these doctors are moving. They're trying to do next patient. So you need to advocate and speak up for yourself. And the biggest thing, too, there's organizations like PCOS Challenge that offer support and medical guidance, which can be found at PCOSchallenge.org. You can get resources. It's a simple, I know y'all be on your phones, y'all be on social media all day long, okay? If you just cannot just break your brain why you keep getting these symptoms, it could be something underlying that it just may take a couple Google checks, a little clicks here and there, and really try to get some answers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Alrighty. So really final question to wrap up PCOS, sis.
Yeah.
Do you think that PCOS screening should be part of routine checkups?
Yes, the way that OBGYNs love to get a pap smear in, what is it to do another check mark and do a PCOS screening?
I agree.
It's nothing.
I agree. Especially with the stat, 70%, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like every woman now needs to get checked.
Yes, I think too many people are getting misdiagnosed, and at this point, and just, we are honoring our World Health Day to Women Health, and too many women are struggling. It takes nothing, maybe an extra 5 minutes, right, for the doctor to try to get these answers. And before it gets to a point where it's a severe cyst, or like, why does it need to get to that point, right? There's ways that we can prevent and work on before it gets to a drastic situation.
Absolutely. Do you think if men got mammograms, for example, or maybe even men had PCOS, do you feel like there would be walk-in screenings at every corner?
Absolutely. Just why these legislators, which are majority men, I don't have the number here, but we gonna make sure we get that stat for y'all. They are making decisions to benefit them. So I'm sure there would be a walk-in clinic every corner for them.
Right.
So baby, all it takes for you is to speak up and you can get the answers yourself.
Do better.
Yeah. With that being said, let's move into quick rapid fire hot takes and hard truths, baby cakes. Doctors spend more time on weight loss advice than actually diagnosing women conditions. Do you feel like, and I might jump into this because I had maybe a couple while I was in college. So it's kind of, this is not weight gain, but when I was college, this may be TMI, but with the Baddie Besties, I'm open. My body fat percentage got so low that I did not have my period for over a year. And it's not, I don't want to say it's abnormal to not have your period, but it's also women do not have that low of a body fat where they don't have it for that long. So the doctor, what's so crazy, instead of her trying to do blood work, trying to find answers, and maybe she literally was like, oh, are you sure you didn't have sex? Are you sure? Like, Are you sure you're not pregnant? I said, sis. And mind you, at the time I was a virgin. I told you, TMI. Whatever. I'm gonna be honest. At that time I was a virgin. I said, girl, yes, I am sure. Like, and mind you, my dad was in the room. He's sitting there looking at me. I'm like, yes, I am sure. Like, you can go I can go pee right now for you. Like, that's crazy. But so I think this is an important conversation. Doctors sometimes stir the conversation to something, they change in the topic versus trying to fight the root cause of things. And this is no shade to doctors, no shade to, there's a lot of doctors that are doing great work. But
Absolutely.
There's a lot of them too that aren't trying to find the root of the problem. Mm-hmm. And that's why sometimes, you have to push for it, right? Because I was like, this is just not, this is not normal. Like, I'm 100% positive. Like, I'm not pregnant. I was very, I was working out a lot in college, maybe 2-3 times. I was insane. Do not recommend. And eventually we did get to a point, I did blood work, and then she gave me something that essentially forced my period to come. But I think it's like I had to push and I had to advocate for myself because sis was trying to make me make me look like I was crazy, and in front of my dad being like, this girl's getting busy in college. I was like, no, sis, no.
I'm not getting busy. I'm getting no action over here. It does kind of sound like a lot of doctors, and again, not every doctor. I know we're kind of beating down on some of the doctors that they're not really doing the best job, but other doctors are doing incredible work, right? But some of them are kind of just putting a Band-Aid, and hoping that it goes away, right? And it's like, this not working. Putting a Band-Aid over something that is just going to keep coming back up is not going to work. So do doctors spend more time on weight loss advice and actually diagnosing women's conditions? Yeah, probably.
Hard truth. Yeah, and it can vary, right? It may not be weight gain, but sometimes they steer from the actual problem. So another question really quickly here, last one, is health insurance should fully cover women's reproductive health. No questions asked.
Oh, of course.
Hard truth or a hot take?
Hard truth.
I think it's a hot take for many, but it's a hard truth for us.
Absolutely.
Like, I think people would be like, oh, why we got to cover this? Why, health insurance. This is also another hot take. Luigi that went ahead, and I have to mention it. Luigi, I forgot his last name, that went ahead and killed the United CEO. He took a sniper, then went back to Philly. There's backstory, what he feels about the health insurance. I'm not saying, and I do not condone violence, but I think he set a message about how health insurance, they will deny many people's claims, and people will be left with debts and not able to afford health care and afford help that they need. It sent a message to all of America of how detrimental our health insurance. Like, we are paying these premiums, and when we need help, not only we have to come out of pocket for help, and it becomes expensive. A lot of people too, they're like, hey, the insurance doesn't cover it. Mm-hmm. So now it's putting families at risk. They're trying to take out loans, or they're doing what it takes to get the help they're needing. But these health insurance are continuing to make us fall short, even though y'all taking our money.
Man, I wish we could be like one of those other countries that everyone has free health care, but no, America don't play about their coins.
I know. I think, the Luigi thing is a big hot take, but
hot take.
I think it definitely, everybody's saying hashtag free Luigi. And some for the wrong reasons. They think the man is fine, but I think he really sent a message. And I hope I hope people and other health insurances receive what he was trying to say.
Clock that tea.
And with that, baby, we may stir the pot.
It's gonna get hot.
But trust.
You just hit the jackpot. Okay. Thank you so much for joining Baddie Besties. Make sure you guys like, follow, share, subscribe, all of that. Find us at Baddie Besties Pod.
Yep.
And make sure you advocate for yourself, babes.
We love you guys. Always happy World Health Day.
Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Bye.